as you can see from the 57mm, it's a one-stop shot, but it does have a very, very high reload, meaning that you can get a bunch of shots off at once. So even though I normally say the larger calibers you should leave your AI to just do, I feel like in this case you should actually control it yourself, just because it is, you know, it is quite fast firing. It's like the 40, but not as good. Then of course you have the 20s on the back if you want to control them instead. Overall, I'm looking a lot forward to using this machine. I just wish the 57mm had something which wasn't HE and had something else. It also gets, once again, some depth charges to be able to play around with, which is lovely. The SGB Grey Fox, the S304, this is one we actually got a dev blog on, and as you can see, it has torpedoes, it has a bunch of guns, and it has this big gun on the front, 76mm I believe. It is, no sorry, this is the 40. So it has a 40mm on the front, backed up by another 40mm, and then it has some dual guns, some AA guns, which are the 12.7mm Vickers. Then it has the 76mm on the back. It has another Oerlikon, and it also has another Oerlikon here, and some torpedoes. So overall, what we have out of this machine is a lot of guns, 2 torpedoes. So when it comes to weaponry, the weaponry is looking great, right? And then the engine looks really well modeled. Looks like you can easily take it out though, since it's only 1 block and 2 transmissions. So being able to annihilate them should be easy. The problem is this thing only has 16 crew. So all you have to do is just aim for this little bit here, and you'll be able to pretty much annihilate it really quickly. And that's unfortunate. It really, really is. I wish that we were in a scenario where this thing actually had a little bit more crew, because if that's the case, it's going to have good survivability and it's going to have good guns. I mean, it still has the HE and AP available for the 40. What is also nice is that you get some different HE shells, so you get shell HE, then you get shell HE, then you get the shrapnel shell. So there is some interesting shells for the 76, and it has the AA cover. It just doesn't have any crew, and that is where it is lacking. If you look at the armor of it as well, it actually has some armor around the transmission and the engine, which is really cool to see. But once again, only 16 members of crew. The Brave class, the P1011, why am I going into a realistic battle with this? Well, this is what it looks like. As you can see, it has more of a pom-pom on the front of it. And listen to that engine roar, I think is the way to put it. It sounds absolutely disgusting. Let's just get out of that. Oh, that hurts the ears. Anyway, let's have a look at it in the tree. So the Brave class, the P1011, it has more torpedoes than some of its predecessors, which is lovely. No armor. It does have a little bit more speed, and it has 2 40mm Bofors. For me, at 3.3, this is a really nice pick. The fact that it has the speed, it has 2 of the best guns for its tier. It also has 3 engines, so it's going to be hard to knock out. They're also in a really cool X-ray configuration. You know, they look really interesting. And then the crew itself is 20. So this crew here has more crew than this. Just think about that. Absolutely insane. Then we have the Fairmile D-697. Now this is labeled as a torpedo boat, and just like with the SGB, I'm kind of surprised because it's absolutely huge. It's this thing here. So we have, first of all, 4 torpedo tubes on it, which is lovely. You have 2 57mm, 2 dual 20mm, 2 dual 12.7s, and 2 dual 7.7s, and also some depth charges. So the depth charges you can see are on the back here. They roll off the side, which is lovely. And then the torpedoes are the Mark 15 torpedoes. The 57mm, of course, one on the front, one on the back, and then the dual 20mm in the center. It's got basically everything you would want out of a mixture of a gunboat and a torpedo boat. It is a nice little contrast, you know, between the two, a bit of melancholy. And hopefully this takes off. The issue is its BR. 3.7 is quite high, especially when you compare it to the destroyers. And I don't know, once again, why you would take a lot of these machines over the destroyers unless you don't have the destroyers unlocked. So the next one is the Fairmile D-501. This is the premium vehicle that you can buy in the shop to get access to the Naval CBT for the Royal Navy. Its battle rating 3.7, it has 257mm on it, it has the torpedo tubes, it has the same armament as the Fairmile we just had a look at, and it goes 46 kilometers an hour. If we have a look at the shells, 57 only gets HE, and then depth charges. Then we have AP for the 20mm. It's literally the same boat. So there's some very, very small changes, but it's going to play exactly the same way. The Fairmile C-312, they actually go up in BR here from the Dark class, and what we get is a motor gun boat. And here we go. So we have a machine which has a 40mm on the front, 40mm on the back, dual 12.7s, dual 7.7. So we've seen this configuration before, and also the only armor is on the 20mm. The configuration itself has a lot going for it, I think, having the two 40mm, even though one of them is the 4-clip one, still should be quite effective, and the other one isn't a Bofors, but overall you also have the 12.7s. The issue is, at 3.0, if you face a lot of Soviet machines, do you have enough penetration to be able to get through their armor? And I think the answer is no, unless you run the AP belts with 73mm. Secondary weapons, you can once again get 4 depth charges to you, and then also you can run I or AP. It's going to be interesting to see which ones to take for the 12.7. Overall, I look at the belts and they just look absolutely disgustingly bad. The Fairmile D-601 is the next gunboat in the line. This is looking a little bit more modernized. It's looking a little bit more beefy. 30-man crew, 50 kilometers an hour. So we're starting to get guns with speed, which is something that all of the rest of the trees kind of struggling with. So we have a 40mm on the front, we have dual 20mm on the back, and then we have the configuration of 12.7s and 7.7s in the middle again. So we're dropping one of the guns in favor of a bit of speed, and overall I think that's okay, especially depending on how you're going to play it. Secondary weapons, once again, just some depth charges, so nothing crazy. Overall, what we're seeing out of this machine is very similar to what we get from the Fairmile C-32, apart from it has more survivability because it has double the crew, and it has more max speed, and it drops one of the guns, and I think that's completely fine. The Fairmile C-312 goes back to a 16-man crew, and what you end up with is two 40mm 2-pounder QFs, dual 20mm, two 20mm, and then two 7.7 joules as well. So you can see them all here. So we have the 40s at the front and the end of the boat, you have the dual 20s, you have the two singles, then you have the 7.7mm, which are sat here. Overall, what we're getting out of this ship at 3.3 is a machine that's going to get mauled by destroyers. 16 crew is not enough. It is not enough when you are at the same BR as destroyers. The other ones can kind of get away with it because they're either lower BR or they have higher crew and they have some kind of gun that can do something. This has a 40mm or two 40mm that can do AP, which is very similar to what we see before. But I don't know, I'm just not digging this 16 crew idea. Unless there can be a meta which forms around 3.3, which doesn't involve destroyers, which is looking very, very unlikely, then I don't know how that ship survives. The next machine to look at is the Clemson L45. This is the first destroyer that you can get for the British, and what it has is a 4-inch QF Mark V, 3-inch naval AA, 4 20mm Oerlikons, and two 12.7mm AN-M2 Vickers dual machine guns. Thank God we have finally got away from those Vickers and Lewis guns. So it has the gun on the front, which is the 4-inch. Then it has the guns up here, which are the 20mm, I believe. Yep, and then it has this gun here, which is another 20mm, and then on the back we have the 3-inch naval gun. The other guns, I believe, are mounted around here. I might be wrong though, I just can't see them right now. And what you see is just a bunch of 20mm. Oh no, there we go. So there's one of the 12.7 mounts. There's a decent amount of AA on this. Obviously a big bump in crew at 3.7 being a destroyer. 141, decent amount of speed behind it. Sorry about that. But what I see from this machine is a machine that is going to get mauled by other destroyers, but it's going to do okay against stuff which aren't destroyers. Obviously, being the first destroyer, it's one of the weaker ones when it comes to the amount of firepower that it has, and when it comes to the armor that it has, it's pretty much non-existent unless we look at the Orlicans. But against aircraft, it should be okay. It has a pretty good, decent naval AA armament on it. Has access to torpedoes, which is nice, and the 102mm does get the AP and the shrapnel rounds. The 76.2 only is rocking HE, which is a shame, and it does get some crazy bomb mortars. Let's actually show you on this how the bomb mortars work. You can also see how, with the modifications, all you have to do is research one first tier modification, and then you get access to the second tier ones. Remember, that was a change that they were going to make, and well, it's been made. So there we go. Now we have the bomb mortar. Let's test sail this. It doesn't really matter what we take. Just have to shut those guns up because they're going to rattle my ears off. I just know it. There we go. Right, so as you can see, you have the racks at the back there. Torpedoes in a dead zone. The torpedoes turn really quick. Holy hell. Look at this guy. Look at the thing at the back with the torpedoes. That's actually impressive. Anyway, for some reason I don't think I've installed the racks. Unless I have installed the racks and they're just not working. That's also something that could be happening. So I've installed the bomb mortar. Have I forgotten anything? Yes, I forgot to equip equip the thing. So there we go. They're equipped now as secondary weapons. It's kind of weird because I thought I saw them on the ship. Anyway, yeah, the torpedoes are not as fast anymore, but they are still pretty nippy. Yeah, they're still pretty cool. So you can see these. I mean, it's quite hard to see, but at the back of the ship, you can see like launchers for the things, right? So there you go. You see the launchers on the right. Bloody hell. Then you got the launchers on the left, which are right here. So you have to aim in the direction where you're throwing them. And that is basically how these work. Also can, or should be able to throw some somewhere else. Oh, where are they going? I've no idea where I've chucked them. I can just throw... Oh hell! Here they go. They're going out the front there. Way up. Oh, they're going a lot further than the ones in the American tree. That's very happy. That makes me feel good. But yeah, so that's how the bomb mortars work, and the depth charges at the back as well. They're basically just fired either from the sides or from the front. Depending on where you're aiming, you are able to chuck them, which I think is a really nice little addition. It works really well. So let's go on to the next thing. We have the G-Class, which is the HMS Grafton destroyer. This is a little bit more upgunned. It has 4 120mm, but it sacrifices AA cover for this, but does increase on the torpedoes. It also has a nice colour to it. So 4 120mm. It has 2 quad 12.7mm, I believe, if I'm reading this right. No, sorry, it's 4 dual 12.7mm Vickers, so it has 2 in the centre, then it'll have 2 somewhere else. My guess is around the cabin. But the main obvious thing to it is the 4 120mm, the CP, let's see, XIX guns, and the torpedoes. There's 8 of them, so sets of 4 And what you get out of that is obviously quite a lot of killing power towards ships, but not a lot of cover when it comes to actually going after aircraft. So that is something you're going to have to work out, you know, how to compensate. This G-Class is much better at killing destroyers, where the other destroyer we looked at, not so good at killing destroyers, but great at being able to cover itself. Does get access to APC-BC with its 120mm, also has the bomb mortar as well, which is lovely, and the 12.7s also get their belts as well. You have the Tribal F75. The Tribal class destroyer, which has 3 dual 120mm. Then it has, of course, the 102mm. It has 2 of them. It has 4 40mm, 2 20mm, and 4 dual 12.7s. So overall, what we're getting, as you can see from these guns here, these, I believe, are the 12.7s, yes, in a quad mount, which are really cool. Oh, it is a quad mount, never mind. It would be a quad mount on the ship before as well. But you're getting a massive upgrade in the Tribal from the one before. What you're basically doing is conglomerating the 2 ideas of the 2 destroyers before, and then adding in more guns. So instead of just having a few 120s, you now have 6 120s. Instead of just having them, you have 2 102s, and then on top of this, or a dual 102, I should say, which is this one here, because it's slightly smaller. Then you have a little bit more armor, you have a little bit more speed, you have a hell of a lot more crew in it, and overall you have a lot more killability, I think is the way to go. So, it also gets access to Mark 6 depth charges, and it also has 4 torpedoes on it. So, it gets HE to start off with its 120, then it gets some APC-BC, the 102mm gets some APC-BC too, so across the board that's great. Gets access to just HEF and just HEI APIT for the 20mm. Overall, it's a solid pick for a destroyer, and it's also backed up by the N-Class in the battle. So the N-Class G25, we have once again the same set of 120mm, but we lose the 102s, we gain a 4-inch QF Mark V, and then we get a quad-mounted 40, which is this here. Do not go near this as an aircraft, you will be annihilated. And then you have the 20mm as well. Once again, good luck getting close to this in an aircraft. The torpedo tubes, you get 5 of them, 533mm Mark 9s, which is definitely interesting. Only has 1 smoke funnel, so if you want to knock it out of action quickly, you just aim for the engine here. Then, of course, it has a crew of 208, so a little bit less than the Tribal, but overall, what you're getting is slightly less firepower, but more concentrated in certain areas. So if you want to be able to control certain areas, such as the Beauforts, or such as the main guns, it's a lot easier to do. It's a lot less hassle. 59 kilometers an hour, so quite a decent speed behind it. Should have a lot of maneuverability. Really looking forward to this one. The Battle D-14. The Battle D-14, as you can see, it has 2 sets of 4.5 inches on the front of it, dual sets, which are right here, 300 ammo apiece, which is kind of crazy. And then you have a 4-incher, you have 3 sets of dual mountings of 40mm Beauforts, and then 2 40mm Beauforts turrets. So what you have here is the 4-incher that you can see, and then the turrets for the Beauforts are actually on the back of it. So if you approach it from the front as an aircraft, such as here, it will actually struggle to hurt you, because it won't be able to shoot you from these backward positions. But if you come from the side or above or behind, yeah, you're going to get yourself lit up. So you got to watch out for that. A lot of the Beauforts are put on the back here. These are 3 sets of them. Then I believe there is some guns, yes, here are the 40mm Beaufort singles. So even from the front, you're going to get hit by the 40mm, but you're not going to get hit by 6 of them. It's much better to get hit by 2. Overall, once again, 1 smoke funnel, crew of 260, so the same as the Tribal class. If we look at the modifications, the 114mm main guns, they have access to APC-BC as well once upgraded. So overall, really looking forward to using this machine again, seeing how well it plays against other destroyers. The last machine, oh no, the second to last machine that we're looking at is the Hyder. This is the ship which you can also buy to get access to the Naval CBT for the Royal Navy, and it is basically a tribal class. So you have 3 mountings of dual 120s, you have 102 dual 102mm back here, you have the 40mm, you have the 20mm, you have the torpedoes. It is just a tribal class with a name, is the best way of putting it. So it's also got a little bit more crew, I believe, than the tribal class. Let's see, yeah, just a little bit more crew than it, but overall, it's pretty much the same machine. Then you have the HMS Enterprise, so this is the light cruiser of the British. Now, from base looks, this actually doesn't look as powerful as some of the other light cruisers that we have in the game, the Krasny, the American light cruiser, but overall I'm quite happy with it. So it has a dual mount of 152mm on the front, then it has 5 152mm scattered around the ship in some very interesting places. So 2 on the back here. Let's just make a roll call. So you've got 2 on the back here, then you've got the ones in the center. If I can mark them, there you go. So that's 4 of them. And then it should also have 1 somewhere else, which is right here. So it does have, 552s. It has 3 4-inches. It has 2 quad 40mm. It has 6 20mm and 6 dual 20mm. So don't come near this thing with an aircraft. You will die. It's kind of as simple as that. Then it has the torpedo tubes. The torpedo tubes are actually in a really interesting space. So as you can see, they're actually underground. And what I mean by that is they're actually built in. And so you can only fire 4 torpedoes each way. I'll actually show you this in a test sail. But when we compare this, oh yeah, we need to look at the modifications. So one of the funny things so far, and I don't know whether this is supposed to be or not, but as you can see, the 6-inch CPBC, its name is slightly wrong, and the actual picture that it uses seems a little bit off as well. But it's an APC round, has 246mm of penetration. The APH here has 217. It's pretty much pick your wonderful round here. Then you have the SAP round, so you have AP and HE, once again picking which one is the best. Overall, this ship looks interesting to play. Obviously, being the top dog of the British, it'll be very fun to get to. The biggest issue it's going to have is other light cruisers. That is so loud, which may have a little bit more firepower than it. But yeah, you can see, look at the torpedoes. So the torpedoes kind of stick out on under this little canvas that's been created, which is really cool. I think I find it really interesting how they've done that, and how when you are using one of them, the other one kind of goes underneath. And then, of course, we have a bunch of 152mm that, when lined up, can do a ridiculous amount of damage. They can also sound absolutely beautiful. It does have 3 smokestacks, so if you are trying to identify this vehicle, it is quite easy to identify. Bow, bow. Sounds great, doesn't it? It also has what seems to be an OS2U on the back of it, as you can see, as some kind of scout plane. I wonder if at some point in War Thunder we will see this as a mechanic, but right now it's just a little bit of decoration to the ship itself. Maneuverability overall ain't too bad in this thing. It actually turns pretty well. And with all the secondary armaments on it, one thing to note is look at the sea. So you see how the sea has all of the wonderful traces on it. Now I know this was present before, but I just want to show it in the dev server because I think it looks really, really nice. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this preliminary look at the Royal Naval Tech Tree. I can't wait to get into it when updates 1.83 rolls around. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.